for Knaibaki, and today I'm going to be telling you guys a little bit about banned books. Reading is a way to open up your mind to new ideas, or at least that's what some people like to think. Racism, sexism, and violence are all so much a part of life that the majority of the world experiences something like that almost every day. If these are everyday occurrences, no matter how terrible that may sound, then why should books involving these topics be banned from schools, colleges, or workplaces in general? Someone might argue and say that these topics corrupt your mind or that they're a bad influence. Both sides make valid argument, valid points. The question of which side you take is up to you. Today I'm going to be going into detail about banned books, and here I have a list of banned books. If you want to look through it, you don't have to, but I'll pass it around. First I'm going to start out with the point of view of a person who is against banning books. They might question the reason that a book is banned, saying that these are real-world problems. Why deprive students from educating themselves about things as important as racism, sexism, politics, religions, or relationships? When a book is banned, obviously there is a reason for it, and oftentimes these reasons are seen as being too violent, mature, controversial, but all these things are just a part of everyday life. Essayist and journalist, I'm going to do my best to pronounce his name for you, Christian Johann Heinrich Heine, is considered one of the most significant German romantic poets of all time. In one of his most famous work, his play Almanzor, the following quote is said: "Wherever they burn books, in the end they will end up burning humans." The more you think about this quote, the more relevant it actually seems. Here he is referring to books about Nazi Germany and Jewish culture, and these books were actually burned. When these books are burned, history is literally erased. It still happened in the past, but far, far in the future, if you have no proof or no physical evidence that something happened, then history could someday become somewhat of a legend instead of a known fact. If you've ever heard the book The Color Purple, you would know that a similar issue is centered around it. Although the novel hasn't literally been burned, it's been banned throughout multiple school districts for its content involving African culture and some mature material. But this seems a bit odd because we're banning a book that we deem racist, but at the same time we're banning a book about African American culture, so isn't that a little bit racist in itself? As I mentioned above, books are often banned for what has been deemed as mature content being drug and alcohol abuse, in general, sexual content, inappropriate language, so on. No matter how disappointing these things sound, it is a fact that the majority of young adults or teenagers can actually relate to these topics. Teens and young adults want to read something that they can relate to personally, to help cope with things that they're going on with their lives. I'm sure you might have heard of the book The Outsiders, or maybe at least seen the movie. This book was banned from multiple middle schools across the United States for its mentioning of teen rebellion. However, those students who were able to read this book throughout high school or middle school, throughout the years that they spent in high school or middle school, said the book made them want to become a reader in the first place. Why is that? Because they can relate to it because of teen rebellion, even though that's obviously bad. We always see articles about how millennials are so invested in technology that books are kind of beneath them at this point. Maybe that's because that we were taught that the books they love the most are actually the ones they should not be reading. Now I want to move on to the opposing side. That banned books are banned for a reason and that reason is valid. Previously, I mentioned the fact that violence is one of the most basic reasons for a book being banned. To prove the point that violence in books can have a negative influence on people, I want to tell you about the theory of the book, The Catcher in the Rye. This book is said to have inspired the assassination of JFK and John Lennon and the assassination attempt of Ronald Reagan. Mark David Chapman, the man who killed John Lennon, was said to be in possession of this book when he was taken into custody. He also explained that his reason for the assassination is because he thought Lennon was a phony because he had different religious views than Chapman had. And the word phony is used multiple times throughout the book, The Catcher in the Rye, by the main character Holden. He uses the word to describe people that he dislikes or that he doesn't agree with. The same book was found in possession of Lee Harvey Oswald after his assassination of JFK, and in possession of John Hinckley, the man who attempted Reagan's assassination. For these reasons, this book has been banned in a handful of schools and colleges, and This is because staff and parents fear that the book will influence the children's behavior and cause them to have irrational or violent thoughts similar to those murders or those assassinations that took place. Now I want to go back to what I said before, not only about violence, but about behavior some of these banned books are encouraging. I said in my opposing side of the argument that things such as alcohol or abuse or inappropriate dialogue relate to teens and young adults. While this is true, it can also encourage them to take up these bad habits that I was talking about, especially in fiction novels, because the characters have somewhat of an unrealistic image that we wish that we had. Reading aggression in literature can influence subsequent aggressive behavior and habits, which tends to be specific to the type of aggression contained in a story. A Brigham Young University research team wrote this in a British Journal of Psychology. So we read about the life of the character that we want to be like, or that we want to relate to, and we unconsciously, without even knowing it, reflect their behavior in our lives. So overall today, I've gone over a few banned books in specific, giving you some of the reasons why they have been banned, and I've also gone over the pros and cons of reading a banned book. I know that you might not all be readers. Some people prefer TV, some people prefer magazines. It's all different for everybody. But if you are a reader, I would suggest taking the time to look over one of the books on the banned list, or maybe just looking up for yourself to see if you take an interest in any of the banned books, and just decide for yourself if it's necessary or not. Thank you.